Hi everyone, this is Deji Adebusoye. I'm the host of the Diary of an African Entrepreneur. There's a particular subject that has been on my mind for some time, and one of the last videos that we did actually brought it to fore, and that's the subject around bringing in family members into the business, into family business. And that's the place of transitioning, whether you are thinking long term or you just want to bring in your family members into the business. And it's been something that I have seen happen over and over again, not because I have the direct experience myself, whether I was picked on to take over a family business or I was handing over a family business to someone, but rather from the perspective of me seeing a lot of companies that have been in this situation before. And I mean, most of us have seen this situation before as well, in our countries, in our neighborhoods, in our environments. We've seen businesses that were taken over by children, by family members. Some have been huge successes, and some have been colossal failures. And it has just come to my mind that I need to talk about it. One of the earlier videos that I did when I spoke with a good friend of mine, Disha, the CEO of Redland Roses, she shared her experience, and I'm going to tag that video to this particular one because I think there are certain gems she shared early on in her life when she worked in a family business, and at some point she had to move away from the family business, and that really helped her to become who she is today. And I'm going to tag that video at the end of this so that you can capture some thoughts that she shared in that video. Now back to the subject. For many reasons, many people bring family members into the business that they run, and there are so many reasons, but there are three key ones that I've seen over and over that has been the reason why people have brought family members into their business. The first is the death of a patriarch. In other words, when the owner of the business or the founder of the business, the dynasty, the empire passes away, one of the things that happens is that the word, maybe the son or the daughter or a brother, takes over the family business. That's one reason why businesses transition. Another reason why I've seen businesses transition is just because of business diversification. So maybe the owner is building a large group of business, and he or she transitions into a chair role, and then some of the subsidiaries need hands to manage them, and they bring in their children to manage some of the subsidiaries. So business diversification is the reason why family members come to lead organizations. And then the third is, of course, the one that we canvas for, we hope will happen a lot more, and that is business transitioning from one generation to another. A patriarch or a matriarch has finished serving their time leading that business and that empire, and they want to hand over the reins to someone else to manage on their behalf. And many times we've seen them bring their words into the family business for this reason. The reality is that if you look across all the different examples that happens around us, there are huge success stories of where this has worked out well. A good example that we've seen work out well, many of us growing up would have known, in Nigeria, the God is good mottos, right? And today, the patriarch died and the son took over, and it has been transitioned, it's been rebranded, it has been turned around, it's called GIG mottos today. So many of you that don't know the history, that is part of the history. Now, I don't know how the company is being run today. I don't know whether people that are closer to the business feel the same way as I do, that it's a success. But whether you like it or not, this is a business that was into just the luxurious transportation, and they become a main logistics company today. So whether you like it or not, these are companies that are being built. These are companies that are extremely successful in what he's doing today. So he has made a success of that business unit. So that is one example. Another example of a business that has been very successful in this transitioning is Bidco Africa. Bidco Africa is a company based out of Kenya that has been largely involved in, they started as making soaps and some garments actually, and eventually the company, the son joined the company in early 1980s and was with the company, and eventually took over as a CEO and started steering the company. Today, the company has become a Pan-African successful consumer goods company, and they are doing extremely well. That is the example of a transitioning that has helped the company to scale and to grow and to even do better than it was when the father or the mother was leading the company. In the same vein, we've seen companies that have been less successful in making that transition. It's still in the logistics business in Nigeria. Many of us might also be familiar with the old Ekele Delitriku. Many of us, I grew up, my sister used to take that bus when she was going to school in Abuja. She used to take that bus and, to school, the Ekele Delitriku. They got these good mottos. They were all available then, but today, I don't think that business it's no longer in existence. The same thing if you look at the dynasty that MKO Abiola built. It was a mighty dynasty. It was a very, very successful dynasty. Different Concord Airlines, Concord newspapers, and many other different subsidiaries that he built then, but none of them are alive today. So there's always that problem around transitioning. And one thing that has just been on my mind is, how can people transition better? What are the better ways or the most successful ways to bring your children into the family business in a way that would not hurt the family business, in a way that will help the business to even do better than it was before they came into the business? And one of the reasons why I'm doing this also is for two audiences. One, for parents who want to bring family into the business, but even for you as a child who is thinking of going into the family business. There are certain conversations you probably want to have with your parents that will give you a higher chance of success. And those are some of the things I want to put forward today. So what are some of the best practices that I've seen, or some of the things that I've seen work better than others in making this transitioning a lot easier and very possible? The first thing is, get them involved early in the business. The reality is that it's not every child that wants to pursue the family business, and every parent has to recognize that. You can force the child to be involved in a business, but eventually if they don't want to, the passion, the interest is not there, they will go do something else. A child being part of your business is not the only way for the business to be successful or to retain the legacy in the family. A good example is Walmart. Walmart was started by Sam Walton. Today, none of the kids run the business day to day. It's hired management that runs it. It's a global conglomerate. But the reality is that the children of Sam Walton are still one of the richest people in the world just because of the shares they have in that company. They can own and retain that wealth in the family because the parents or the father, trusted in a team, a trusted, hired, experienced hands to manage and run the business. The point I'm trying to make is, as a parent, your child might not be interested in the business and it doesn't need the death of the business, right? But even one of the things you can do early on to begin to see if they're interested, or even to get them interested, is you get them in the business early on. And when I say early on, I mean even when they're like 13, 14, 15. Let them just come and do an internship. Let them walk around different units in the organization. Let them do sales. Let them do a little bit of marketing, a little bit of supply chain. Even if all they do is help to process, information on the computer system. But just get them involved. It might just be for 2 hours a week. It might eventually grow to become 1 day a week during their holidays. Get them involved in the business early on. Let them begin to feel the understanding of what it is. What it also helps them to do is they begin to understand work culture very early on. It plays to the story of my friend Disha, which I said I will tag at the end of this. One of the things she talked about was when she got into the family business. She was young. She was in her early 20s.
I started my career in the family business. Those were really good years of my life, and I'll never exchange them for anything. I got a lot of exposure. I got to meet presidents from every African country. I got the confidence to be able to speak with them about the work that we were doing at ETG. I got exposure, but I didn't necessarily get the discipline that I needed as somebody who was 21 years starting out in her career. And I'm going to talk about basic things like arriving to work at 8 a.m. instead of at 10 a.m. I didn't earn the luxury to come to work at 10 a.m., yet I was showing up to work at 10 a.m. I think the second thing was there was no concrete deliverables or job responsibility that was conferred to me. Again, that was because of the structure of the family business. And I believe that all of these things sort of made me a much better professional at the start of my career.
She was working at her own pace. And one of the things that happens when your child starts the business early is they begin to understand from a very young on encumbered mindsets. They begin to understand the framework of what work is like, having a proper work ethics, work culture built around them. So that's the first thing. You want to get them involved in the business very early on. The second thing you want to do is you want them to learn and grow outside of the business. You want them to learn and grow outside of the business. What do I mean by that? Many people bring their kids immediately into the business, maybe as soon as they finish from the university, come straight and start working for the family business. I'll say, no, hold on, slow down. These kids need to learn in an environment where they are not tolerated or allowed to do things. I'm sure my friend, when she was coming into work at 10, nobody told her that this does not work. You shouldn't do this. I mean, she's a child of the owner. She can do whatever she wants to do. She was coming in at 10. You need them to grow in an environment where nobody cares who their father or their mother is. They teach them what it takes to work. I'm going to refer to one thing again that Disha said in our video.
Now, even through my time at Syngenta, I wouldn't say that I was the best employee because I didn't know how to be an employee. I was learning the constraints that you, Dej, had already learned 10 years before me. So I was like, cool, I still have a backup option. I'm going to do this, be with Johan, and eventually go back to like Tanzania. The mindset was not right. It was basically at one point when David Morgan, my line manager, said, dude, do you realize that people expect you to deliver? And I was like, shit, this guy just told me that I do nothing. And that really impacted me for some reason. I took it to heart and I decided I'm going to show David Morgan that I can actually deliver. And I can even trace back the date. It was 2015. So exactly 10 years ago when I decided I'm going to become a delivery machine. And that's when I started to really deliver. I got a chance to be in the Africa Middle East team. I went to Morocco and then eventually got the job in the UK. I actually got the Best Employee of the Year award in the UK.
You need them to be in an environment where someone can look them dead in the eye and tell them, you're doing nothing. Give them very hard feedbacks. Let them learn in an environment where people want to get results and want to get work done and they don't know who their parents are or they don't care who their parents are. You need that for them. You need them to grow and build their competence in that kind of environment. You know the funny thing, if your child cannot build their competence and build a career outside of your business, I don't think they have any business needing your business if you want that business to be successful and you want that business to last. I'm not saying they become the managing director or become the CEO in another place, but you can see a demonstrable performance of growth, of projection, of drive in somebody else's business. You can see them grow. You can see them move up the career chain. You can see them grow in that organization. Those are feelers that let you know that if they already understand, they've imbibed what it takes to build an organization because they themselves have ascended in an organization. So these things are critical. Let them go outside. Let them sow their wild oats outside and build their own capability. Let them build domain expertise. Let them build experience. Let them build credibility. One of the things that happens is when you also come back into your organization later on, you just bring in a child that has no experience, university graduate or something, and you bring them to lead organizations where there are people that have built credibility in the organization, people who understand their trade, they understand what they've been hired to do. The problem is that there can only be chaos in that kind of situation because number one, the child does not know what is expected. They haven't been in that kind of environment before. And even these top performers that you've hired your son or daughter to come and manage, these are people that in their own rights, they want to build their careers. They want to be led by somebody that has the right vision, somebody they can look up to. Right? Somebody that has built credibility, has domain expertise, has experience. But here you are breaking up somebody who doesn't have any of that. What is going to happen over time is that these kids top performers you have in the organization, one after the other, they will just begin to leave. They're only beating their time. Every single hour you see that they stay in that business, they're beating their time. They're already looking for options and they will leave. Eventually, you have cronies running the organization and it's just a question of time. That business is going to the ground. So these are part of the reasons why you want them to learn outside. But I think they are coming in. They've been able to grow in an organization. They are coming in with domain expertise. They're coming with experience. They're coming with credibility. Probably Look at Disha today. Disha today goes into her family business. Oh my God, she's going to have tons of respect. She has built something of her own. She has built her own name. She has built her brand. She has learned. She has gained the experience. She has been forged. She goes into the family business. If she chooses to, she's going to go there with a lot of respect. People are going to look up to her that if you did it to Redland Roses, we saw what you've done. We think you can add value. You can do something here. That is extremely critical. Part of the reasons why you want to make sure that they learn outside of the family business, they build competence, they build respect while doing that as well. And one other very important reason why you wanted to do that is they learn what it feels to be like as an employee. They learn what it feels like to be to work as an employee, because the truth is that you can't be an excellent leader if you haven't been a great follower. That's just the reality, because there are realities that your followers go through, experience. At the end of the day, as a leader of an organization, you're achieving results through people. But when you don't understand what those people have been through, when you don't understand the daily struggles that they face in making their career work in any organization, you will probably not be in a position to be able to guide and lead an organization of those people in the right way. So those are part of the reasons why you want them to go learn outside of your organization. Another reason why you want to do that, another thing you want to do is you want to bring them, when you bring them in eventually into the organization, you would want to do that and just put them straight in management, or maybe make them the CEO almost immediately. You bring them in and you bring them in a role that is senior enough, maybe just entry into management, or maybe just a level below management. The reason is you also want to gradually transition them into the culture of the new organization. It's a soft landing. The reality is that in this new role, yes, they will begin to get all the accolades and respect also of just being the son or the daughter of the owner. But because they have expertise, they have domain expertise, they are knowledgeable, they're experienced, they can immediately start to add value, and you begin to gain their own respect in that organization, not just because they're the child of the owner, but because in their own right they've earned their stripes. So bring them in, don't throw them immediately into that senior CEO position. Bring them in a level below management, or just entry into management, depending on how large the organization is. In some organizations, you can bring them on board as a COO or a CFO if they've grown in a finance function, for example, or if it's a marketing function, you bring them in marketing or in sales. Let them come and drive performance in that unit, and then that becomes like the next the tipping point for them before they move into the leadership of the organization. The last thing I'm going to talk about very quickly, but probably is the most important thing, is you need to build very strong governance system around the organization even while you're there, and you need to practice letting the governance work while they see you do it. In other words, this is the legacy you as the owner can leave for your children. Build the right governance and let it work while they are there. They see that you, for example, you are answerable to authority, you have a board of directors, you engage them actively, you're accountable to them, you go with the level of what's the word, you make yourself answerable, you make yourself amenable to the constitutions, to the policies of the organization. You are not above them. They see those things, they see how you subject yourself as leader to the governance process in the company, and they can learn from it, such that when you are gone and they come in, number one, there's a very strong board and there's strong governance, and therefore they cannot misbehave. They can't just go on a tangent themselves and make decisions that are not, you also want to help them, right? You throw them into that position, you want to create systems around them that will help them not to fail, systems that will help them to be successful, systems that will help them not to self-destruct, right? So put in place proper governance, controls, processes, systems that will checkmate them even if they decide to go AWOL while they are CEO of the company. Now, the question some of you might be asking is, that is all well and good for a parent that wants to gradually transition their kids into the business, but there have been instances like the GIG Motors we talked about, for example, where the patriarch died, and I've seen other examples before, some that are very close to me as well, where the patriarch died and all of a sudden one of the children had to step up to run the organization. Now, It could have happened that the patriarch had gotten them involved in the business early on, so they already understand the work culture, but maybe they didn't have enough time to go out to experience other things on their own before coming back. The reality is that leadership, that mantle has been thrust upon them, and they need to act. So I'm speaking now to those who are in that particular solution. There are a few things you can do to help yourself to become more successful in that role. The very first thing is you need to make sure you have very competent deputies around you. And when I say competent, don't be afraid to not know. In fact, you wouldn't know as much as them, and it's okay. I remember when Mark Zuckerberg became CEO of Facebook. I mean, when Facebook started scaling and growing, or CEO, he had no management experience, but one of the first things he did was he hired Cheryl as the COO, and one of the reasons he did that is he wants someone extremely competent to run the operations of the organization, and he was learning actively, which will be my second point. But surround yourself by very strong deputies, not cronies, people that will just be saying yes sir to you, people that are afraid to call you to question. Surround yourself with people that will question your judgment, people that will question your decisions, people that will push back on you, people that will also listen and will be willing to help you learn and grow. You want to put those kind of people around you. The second thing you want to do is you need to be hungry to learn. Oh my God, learn, be hungry, pursue knowledge. And when I say knowledge, it's not just reading books, it's about engagement. Meet people on your team, stay on the floor, shop with them, see the processes they go through in making those products, see the processes they go through in putting out those services that you render as an organization. Go on that journey if you're in logistics with them, see what it feels like being able to serve your customers. If you're running a restaurant, put on the apron and one of those points and serve. Learn, ask questions to your customer groups, form quick customer centric meetings where you want to understand your customers better. Go into the market, meet your customers, meet your stakeholders, meet your suppliers, spend time with your team, your employees as well. Just be hungry, just soak all the information in. They always come in helpful at the end of the day, because you quickly ramp up your ability to understand what business you're in and how you can make the right judgment. With the right deputies, driving the business, it gives you that time to be able to spend time focusing on gathering knowledge and experience. If you can also add an education to it, it's beautiful. But I think those physical, real life, practical examples and experience is all the more better if you can gather that. And then you also want to build a diverse but intentional personal board of advisors. This is for you personally. I have like 2-3 people that you call every now and then, mentors that you go to, you sit down with them, you ask questions, you complain to, you express your frustrations in a place of trust, in a place of safety. That is good for you, because whether you like it or not, it's not all the time that those deputies that you have around you probably have your own interests. Sometimes they will have their own interests, but when you have these independent advisors, and maybe not even you should have your board, that you create your board, set up your board as well if that did not exist. But you have your 2-3 mentors that you go to, and you can pour yourself, your frustrations, your anger, your fears, you can talk to them and they can advise and coach you in the right way. Have that strongly with you. And then be willing to suffer failures, because whether you like it or not, you will. You're inexperienced, you don't have the right knowledge, the right credibility. People will undermine you at times. You have to be willing to learn through those processes and don't allow it to shape you, to make you become who you're not supposed to be. Some people, because somebody's undermining them, they become very, very volatile. They become eruptive in their emotions. They fire people at will just because they are angry and they feel that people are taking them for granted. No, don't allow people to define who you are. Those things are bound to happen, but use it as a launch pad to learn, to gather experience, and then you'll be ready to be able to drive growth in your organization. I hope this has been helpful to someone, and I will be happy if you can share this with somebody that you think needs to listen to this, to help them get themselves prepared, whether to take on the role in a family business, or a patriarch or matriarch who is already looking to see how to bring their family or their children into the business. Some things they can start thinking about. Thank you very much for listening. Please do like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. I'm continuing to deliver great content to you that will help your business to grow and to scale. Once again, my name is Deji Adebusoye, the host of the Diary of an African Entrepreneur. Thank you very much.